This morning we're going to talk about the concept of genre. Most of you probably know the term to mean or describe a kind of something. Most commonly you think of genre in terms of movies, a horror movie, a love story, those kinds of things. When we're talking standard genres in literature, there are 4 of them: fiction, nonfiction, poetry, and drama. But within each of those, there are also subgenres. So if we're looking at fiction, fiction is the genre that deals with things that are made up, created, not an attempt to relate true information. Within fiction, we've got fantasy. That includes myth, legends, fairy tales. Fantasy also, for some people, it's all the stories about knights and princes and princesses and, all the dragons and all that kind of stuff. We've got mystery, detective stories. Generally, those are also fiction. You've got science fiction. Historical fiction is when people reach back into history and pull out actual historical figures, but then create a made-up story that includes those historical figures. So technically, that's not history. If you read a piece of historical fiction, you're not reading things that necessarily those historical figures who were real people, you're not reading things they actually said. You don't know if those are things they actually did. Those are made-up stories using actual people and usually some other folks added in. Nonfiction, this is the attempt to write down and recreate what actually happened at some point in time. The common ones that you're probably aware of are biography and autobiography. When you tell the story of a human being, autobiography is when that person tells their own story. Biography is when somebody else tells it for them. Perhaps you haven't heard so much about informational books. Those are really big in an educational setting, really common when we're talking about children's books. Informational books are intended, as the name sounds, to give information to children about particular actual historical events. Poetry, we know poetry, we know it when we see it, right? Sometimes it rhymes, sometimes it doesn't. It's its own section. Drama is when we're dealing with plays and other works for stage performance. We're not going to deal with drama in this class simply because most dramas currently created for children are created in religious contexts, and we're dealing with your future as school teachers, so we're not going to deal with drama in this class, just the top 3 genres. Then off to the right there, you'll notice I've got this category that I call genre overlays, because these are what some people talk about as genres, but they also can kind of sit on top of or be added to any of those other genre descriptors. Board books, picture books, humor, graphic novels, and the one that you might not be familiar with, the abecedarium. An abecedarium is an ABC book, and those are pretty much exclusively children's literature. So, as an example, we have A Peaceful Kingdom, a shaker, abecedarius, same term. If I read just a little bit of this as an example, we've got alligator, beetle, porcupine, whale, bobolink, panther, dragonfly, snail, crocodile, monkey, buffalo, hare, dromedary, leopard, mud turtle, bear. What are we looking at in terms of genre here? Would we say this is fiction? Well, those are all real terms. It's listed sort of mostly in alphabetical order. This is both a nonfiction informational book, because it is out to teach children the names of the various animals and things that are pictured here. It is also an abecedarium because it's in ABC order at least the initial animal is in ABC order. It is also poetry because it rhymes. So you can see that this little book right here, well, and it's also a picture book. I guess this is 4 genres all wrapped up in one. You'll find that in children's books, that oftentimes they are not really restricted to one genre. When you are giving your presentations on your books, oftentimes there will be more than one. So when you are responsible for a book, you are going to identify what you see as the genres that apply to that book as a way of describing the book, helping us understand what it's about, where it comes from. Questions? Email me.